After the British exit in the end of January, tough negotiations between the EU and the UK are ongoing. Little progress has been made, and so EU Chief Negotiator Barnier is disappointed, because the EU and the UK made little progress in the third round of their negotiations about the future relationship. This was announced by British Chief Negotiator David Frost and EU Chief Negotiator Michel Barnier after the last round last Friday. Both expressed disappointment and accused the other side of missing movement. Aside from some modest success, no progress has been made on some of the more difficult issues. That's at least the position of Barnier. He was quite disappointed by the lack of ambition of the British side in other areas that are not the focus of the negotiation, but which are important and symbolic, and for me to add, quite essential for the success of these negotiations. Without an agreement, there is now a bigger risk of a hard break. Negotiations are taking place on trade and partnership agreements. After the UK left in January, there is now a transition period until the end of 2020. So for the people in the UK, nothing has really changed in the everyday life. But if there is no agreement at the end of this year, there is a high chance for a hard break, and the people will feel that. The key points of the talks continue to be the now famous level playing field and the fishing rights. And the British side says we can't negotiate on the base of Barnier's mandate. The talks were professional, but the mood was quite irritable. Therefore, one hopes for a breakthrough on the high political level. They at least hope for that when the heads of states and government meet in June. Are the current talks at a dead end now? The accusations from Brussels was that Great Britain would hold on to the advantages of EU membership, only without the annoying duties. If progress is not made soon, the talks would be at a dead end, warned Barnier. For that, however, London has to become realistic and change its strategy. And Frost accused the counterparts in Brussels of an ideological approach. Usually, a standard free trade agreement would easily be possible and in the mutual interest. That's what Frost says. And he also says, but the EU insists that the level playing field demands conditions that bind Britain to EU standards, and that is not acceptable for the UK. I do have quite a different position than David Frost, but that's no surprise, I guess. But Frost also says there have been useful discussions on the topic of fishing. What a surprise. In the time before, they didn't even want to talk about that. But once again, Frost says the EU's position is not compatible with Britain's status as an independent nation. And Barnier said Britain cannot determine conditions. And he probably meant with that on which topic to talk about and which not, because that was a strategy for the British in the last 3 rounds. And Barnier accused the UK of a blockade on the issue of competitive conditions. And quite understandably, he said the EU would never agree to conditions that would harm the internal market. They would be stupid to do so. And Britain as a third country, and that's something a lot of people have to realize now. Britain is now a third country, and they cannot determine the conditions for the access to the European market. That's the EU to decide. And that's what Barnier said. The EU will determine their own terms for this access. When asked if the risk of a hard break without an agreement at the end of the year has increased, Barnier just answered, I'm not optimistic. And to be honest, that's the way I feel at the moment. But Barnier will still continue working resolutely for compromise. Both sides had planned to make tangible progress by June, and then also the decision is pending whether the transition period will be extended. Great Britain so far has strictly rejected this. They would even have to change the law to do so. By the way, for everybody who's saying it's the law that we can't extend, the Parliament makes the laws, and the Parliament can change the law, so that can easily be removed. Boris Johnson has a big majority if he wants to extend, because he realizes how dangerous the situation is. He easily can change that law in Parliament and ask the EU for an extension. No problem. You probably have seen my other video that 77% of the British people now do want an extension, and that should give Boris Johnson something to think about. Another round of negotiations via video conferences is planned in the week from June 1st. And if you now want to see more about European politics from a German view, I put my next video in the end screen. Click and enjoy. I'll see you there. Viel Spaß!